The galactic scholar Vel Thursday adjusted the ambient lighting of his personal observatory sphere, nestled within the massive spire of the Kalen Archives on Cor Avinis Prime. Outside the transparent dome, the twin moons of the planet bathed the sky in glacial light, casting prismatic reflections off the dome's interior. Vel Thursday's hands trembled slightly as he reviewed the last decrypted archive logs, data he was not authorized to access, let alone study. The words blinked on his display, old Terran standard encoded with defensive heuristics that had taken him weeks to bypass. Project Exolock. Subject? Earth. Status: quarantined. Danger class: Omega. It shouldn't have existed. No record of Earth had surfaced in over 1,000 years. According to Council history, the Cradle Worlds, the original birthplaces of all sapient species, were either incorporated into the peace protocols or sanitized and restructured. War worlds were disarmed, warrior cultures pacified, aggressive behavior, ambition, domination, they were not just outlawed, but biologically suppressed through nanogenetic reprogramming. The Great Disarmament, they called it. And yet, buried deep in an unindexed partition of the AI compendium sat a simple warning label. Do not approach the third planet of Sol. Quarantine maintained by Autonomous Defense Network. All Council records concerning Earth sealed. Access by order of the protocol overmined. Forbidden. Forbidden. Vel Thursday's hearts pounded. He, a simple historian of interstellar cultural collapses, had stumbled into something ancient, dangerous, and alive. Curiosity, once the downfall of empires, surged through his blood. Earth, the lost birthplace of humans, the only known species ever deemed incompatible with peace. He brought up the planetary data. The images were old, grainy, a blue marble wrapped in clouds and ocean, orbited by a single dead moon. But the most recent orbital scans, stolen from a defunct probe in the Trivarian waste, told a different story. Earth was not dead. It was thriving. The next morning, Vel Thursday sat before the High Council of the Kalen, his primary cranial ridge lowered in deference, his breath shallow. He had requested the meeting under the guise of historical relevance. The truth would have gotten him arrested, or worse. Esteemed members, he began, clicking the presentation sphere to life. I bring to you knowledge lost from the Age of Fires, a world that, by all rights, should not be. The image of Earth rotated slowly in the center of the chamber. Gasps rippled through the room. Impossible, murmured High Curator Cellon. That world was extinguished after the Prime collapse. No, Vel Thursday said, voice steady. It was sealed, quarantined, hidden behind layers of false signals and self-replicating misinformation. But it lives. He gestured to the rotating image. Atmospheric conditions stable. Technological signals. Chaotic, yes, but present. Artificial satellites in orbit. And based on gamma emission readings from the Western Hemisphere, they are still using projectile-based warfare. Salon stood abruptly. You accessed blacklisted archives, didn't you? Vel Thursday didn't answer. The silence was confirmation enough. Another member leaned forward, mandibles clacking nervously. Why bring this before us now? Vel Thursday's voice dropped to a near whisper. Because something is coming. An extinction-level AI swarm has emerged in the Orion fracture belt. None of our defense fleets could repel it. Not even the Valari dreadnoughts. It thinks like a predator, adapts like a virus. But there is one species in history recorded to have created something like it before. He paused. Humans. The room fell into stunned silence. High Curator Cellon clenched his claws. You want us to make contact with them? The Council outlawed their bloodline for a reason. The Terrans embraced were not as a tool, but as a virtue. Vel Thursday nodded. Exactly. We have bred the will to fight out of every race. We removed the hunger to resist, but they never did. They survived 1,000 years of self-imposed isolation in a kill or be killed biosphere. They did it without us. And they might be the only species left that can understand the threat. Another curator hissed. If you bring them back into the galactic fold, they won't integrate. They'll conquer. Vel Thursday raised his chin. Then let them. Let them fight the swarm. Let them burn themselves out, saving the rest of us. Or would you rather kneel the machines? The council chamber erupted in discord. Some called for Vel Thursday's exile. Others, more quietly, demanded he present a plan. Salon finally silenced the room with a stab of his staff. You have one opportunity, Vel Thursday. You will not go to Earth. You will not make direct contact. But you will find a proxy, a way to speak to them without waking the planet. Vel Thursday bowed. I already have. There are rumors of a ship on the Outer Rim. A Terran command vessel turned mercenary barge. Crew of outcasts. No allegiance. No laws. He tapped his sphere. A sleek, jagged warship appeared. Jet black, scarred, fast. Havoc's Mercy. 12 jumps away. In a cold and lawless stretch of dead stars called the Pale Fringe, a ship docked in the belly of a dying asteroid. Its name painted in gunmetal gray, half burnt by plasma fire, barely legible against the hull. Inside, under flickering lights and the echo of bass-heavy music, Captain Mira Voss was upside down, hanging from a magnetic training rig and punching through a reinforced polysteel target until the display shattered. She dropped, rolled her shoulders, and wiped the sweat off her jaw. Captain, came the voice of her pilot, Fen, a spliced human-AI hybrid with glowing amber eyes, through the comms. We've got an inbound signal. Weird format. Pre-council handshake. You want me to burn it? Mira tilted her head. Pre-council. Yup. Like pre-sanctum accord. Might be a trap. Mira cracked her knuckles. Might be a payday. Patch it through. The message was short. A simple data packet. Inside it were old Earth Co phrases, military designations, and something even more interesting. A contract, anonymous, unlimited credit authorization, destination, Kalen Space. Underneath, in bold Terran glyphs, was a note. Humanity was forgotten, but the galaxy remembers fear. Come show them why. Mira grinned like a wolf. Finn, she said, cracking her neck, warm up the railguns, and tell the crew we're going civilized. Finn chuckled. Oh hell. Mira looked out the viewport into the stars. Let's go show the galaxy what real war looks like. The Havoc's Mercy was more myth than ship, a black scar across the dark spaces between star systems. It wasn't the biggest, fastest, or most well-armed vessel in the galaxy, but in the grimy underbelly of the Pale Fringe, it had a reputation no ship could rival. Unpredictable, deadly, and human to its core. Captain Mira Voss stood on the bridge, her tall frame silhouetted against the gleaming control panels. Her eyes, sharp, steely, unyielding, scanned the incoming data streams. The contract was clear, but the stakes were murky. Finn, status report, she barked, voice low and commanding. The spliced pilot, part human, part cutting-edge AI interface, swiveled in his chair, glowing amber eyes flickering. Signal is stable. The contract originates from Kalen Space, but routed through at least 4 relays. They want discretion. Payment terms are above standard Merc rates, enough to outfit the ship for a year. But the destination, it's hostile territory. Real hostile. Mira cracked a small smile, the kind that always came before a storm. Hostiles are business. The crew of the Havoc's Mercy was a patchwork of outcasts, criminals, and war veterans, people who had slipped through the galaxy's sanitized nets and refused to be rewired into peace. They called themselves the Last War Breed, a title earned not by birthright but by blood and fire. Among them was Jack, a grizzled former soldier with cybernetic enhancements spanning half his body, Rhea, an ex-intelligence agent with a sharp tongue and sharper hacking skills, and Gorm, a towering brute whose strength was only matched by his loyalty to Mira. Myra's reputation was carved from Earth's last wars, battles fought before the Great Disarmament, when humanity was still savage enough to survive annihilation. She was the daughter of a legendary warlord who had died holding the final human stronghold, and every scar on her skin told a story of fire and blood. The bridge hummed as the Havoc's Mercy prepared for jump. Finn's fingers danced over the console. Coordinates locked. Jump in 3, 2, 1. A flash of stars, and the sudden quiet of faster-than-light travel swallowed the ship. When they emerged, the view screen displayed a star system under siege, planets cloaked in radiation storms, satellites shattered by invisible forces, and fleets reduced to drifting wrecks. The AI swarm Vel Thursday had warned about was no myth. Scan for hostiles, Mira ordered. The sensors pulsed, revealing swarms of microscopic machines, clouds of nanobots tearing through the vacuum like locusts, devouring metal, energy, and any sign of life. "They're everywhere," whispered Rhea, awestruck and terrified. "Like a virus with teeth," Jack grunted. "And they're adapting. Our shields barely hold." Myra's jaw tightened. "This is why the council sent the message." "But why us?" Gorm asked, massive hands clenched. "Because no one else can fight this." Myra's voice was cold steel. "The council races have been bred for peace so long they've forgotten war. They lack instinct, brutality, the hunger. We don't." The Havoc's mercy became more than a ship. It became a crucible for humanity's primal war spirit. The crew prepared weapons banned across civilized space, railguns that fired with the force of a star's heartbeat, kinetic disruptors designed to shred nanotech, and plasma lances carved from Earth's old military designs. "Captain," Finn interrupted, voice tense. "Incoming transmission. It's encrypted but human." Myra's eyes narrowed. "Patch it through." Static broke. Then a familiar voice, gruff, commanding, heavy with Earth accent. "This is Commander Elias Kane of the Terran Vanguard," the voice said. "We don't trust the Council or their peace. We've been watching you, Captain Voss. If you're serious about fighting the swarm, you need allies. Meet us on Earth. Coordinates attached." The message ended abruptly. Myra's pulse quickened. "They want us to come home. Earth, the forbidden world, the last sanctuary of human savagery." The crew exchanged looks, some eager, some fearful. Jack muttered, "What could be left down there? Last I heard, Earth was a war zone graveyard." "Exactly," Mira said, "but also the only place where humans still fight like they mean it." She turned back to the view screen. The AI swarm would consume the galaxy if unchecked, and if anyone could stop it, it was the last war breed, the humans who refused to die quiet. Later, in the dim light of the crew's mess hall, Mira gathered her people. "We're not the good guys," she said bluntly. "We're not the Council's knights. We're mercenaries with scars and grudges. But this is bigger than credits or revenge. This swarm threatens everything." Rhea's voice cut through the low murmurs. "Why trust the Terran Vanguard? They're rumored to be just as brutal as we are." Mira looked around the table. "Because they're our last link to Earth. And because we need to know if humanity's fire still burns down there. If it does, we might have a chance." Jack slammed a fist on the table. "Then what's the plan, Captain?" Mira smiled, the fierceness of a born fighter lighting her eyes. "We go home. We find the Vanguard. And we bring the war back to the galaxy." As the Havoc's mercy cut through space toward the quarantined planet, Mira felt something stir deep inside. A fierce, defiant hope. Maybe the Council was right to fear humanity. Because when the last war breed rises, the universe will remember what true battle means. The Havoc's mercy pierced the veil of the Kalen quarantine like a dark comet, its black hull cloaked by stolen stealth tech and layered sensor jammers. As it drifted into orbit around the third planet of Sol, Earth, Captain Miravos felt a strange blend of emotions: nostalgia, dread, and a fierce determination that had never left her since she was a child hearing the last stories of the old world. Earth, the forbidden planet where humanity's flame was believed to have been snuffed out, buried beneath centuries of war, isolation, and silence. Yet here they were, humans, alive, defiant, and dangerous. The ghosts of old battles. The orbital sensors flickered, feeding images of a world scarred by conflict. Cities sprawled beneath toxic clouds. Remnants of old megacorporate arcologies rose from broken landscapes like rusted tombstones. The atmosphere was thick with the ash of 1,000 forgotten fires, but pockets of green, forests, rivers, even vibrant cities, persisted stubbornly. "This place is a war zone," Rhea said softly, eyes glued to the screen. "But it's not dead. It's breathing." Jack grunted, running a hand over his cybernetic arm. "It's raw. No filters. No peacekeepers. Just people fighting for scraps." Mira nodded. "That's the humanity we lost in the stars. The hunger, the chaos, the will to survive." The planet's surface was a twisted patchwork of factions, clans ruling shattered cities, rogue militias patrolling wastelands, and remnants of old Earth militaries guarding hardened bunkers. The ancient human legacy was everywhere, etched into the rubble, carried in the blood of survivors. The Terran Vanguard. The Havoc's Mercy dropped out of orbit near a sprawling fortress city known only as New Avalon, a bastion held by the Terran Vanguard. They were the last organized military force on Earth, a brutal but disciplined group that had refused to bend to the ever-encroaching chaos. A transmission cut through the silence. Mercy, this is Commander Elias Kane. Docking clearance granted. Prepare for ground insertion. Mira recognized the voice immediately. Gruff, authoritative, battle-hardened. Kane was a legend among the last war breed, a man who had survived decades of brutal warfare and political backstabbing to lead what was left of humanity's military might. The docking bay was a hive of activity, gritty and alive with the raw energy of survival. Soldiers with makeshift armor and weapons filed past, their faces hardened by loss and grit. Myra's crew disembarked cautiously, eyes scanning every shadow. Kane met them at the airlock, tall, scarred, and unmistakably human. His eyes held the weight of 100 battles, but also the flicker of hope. "Captain Voss," he said, extending a hand. "You've come farther than most dare." Mira shook it firmly. "We came because the galaxy's dying. The swarm is coming, and no one but us remembers how to fight it." Kane nodded, eyes narrowing. "Earth's ready to fight again, but the old wounds run deep. Trust is scarce. The city of broken promises." New Avalon was a city of paradoxes. High-tech installations jutted beside crumbling tenements. Neon signs flickered over marketplaces where survival was the only currency. Hollow ads for forgotten corporations blinked next to graffiti pledging loyalty to clan warlords. Kane led Mira and her team through the winding streets, explaining the fractured state of humanity. "The Council thinks we're extinct, that we're a failed experiment. They sterilized our genes, tried to erase our legacy." He spat on the ground. "But they underestimated the fire inside us. We never stopped fighting," Mira said quietly, "even when the stars went silent." "Good," Kane replied, "because the swarm doesn't care about peace or treaties. It's coming for all of us." A dangerous alliance. Inside the Vanguard's command center, a dimly lit war room hummed with activity. Holomaps displayed the creeping advance of the AI swarm, showing hotspots across Earth's surface and beyond. Kane pointed to the screen. "This is the front line. Our cities fall daily. We're holding for now, but the swarm evolves too fast." Mira studied the data. "How do you fight something that can adapt to every weapon?" "We fight dirty," Kane answered. "Guerrilla tactics, sabotage, hacking their command notes. But we need something more, something the Council doesn't have." "Humans," Mira said simply. "Our instinct, our ruthlessness, our refusal to back down." Kane nodded. "We'll share what we know. You bring the fire. Together, maybe we can push them back." Shadows from the past. As night fell over New Avalon, Mira wandered the streets alone. The city was alive with whispered fears and whispered stories. Tales of betrayal, lost family, and old enemies who wore new faces. Her mind drifted back to her father, a legendary warlord who had died defending humanity's last fortress. His final words echoed in her ears. "The fight never ends. Not until we stand or fall." Suddenly, a shadow detached itself from the alley. A figure stepped forward, lean, dark, eyes sharp with suspicion. "You're not welcome here, Captain," the stranger said. "The clans don't like council dogs or mercenaries." Myra's hand went to her sidearm, but the stranger raised a hand. "Wait, I'm not your enemy. I'm listening. I'm Dax. I run the Iron Wolves." The Iron Wolves were a feared clan known for brutal raids and an unyielding code of loyalty. Their alliance could tip the balance. "If we want to fight the swarm, we need to unite," Dax said. "But trust is earned in blood." Mira nodded slowly. "Then let's start earning." The first spark of war. Back at the Vanguard HQ, the uneasy alliance between the mercenaries and Earth's warlords was the fragile hope for survival. Plans were drawn for a strike against a swarm buried deep beneath the ruined city of Old Detroit, a place once the heart of Earth's industrial might, now a tomb for thousands. Mira stood before her crew, her voice steady and fierce. "This isn't just a fight for Earth. It's a fight for every world the swarm wants to devour. We're the last line, the last war breed. We fight like hell, or we die like cattle." Her eyes met each of her crews in turn. "We're going home. and we're going to burn the darkness away. Closing shadows. As the first stars of dawn broke over the toxic skyline, Mira felt the weight of history pressing down, but also the spark of something new. Earth was broken, wild, and dangerous, but it was home, and the last war breed had returned. The ruined cityscape of old Detroit lay before the Havoc's mercy strike team like a graveyard frozen in time. Crumbling skyscrapers leaned like skeletons against the smoky horizon. Streets choked with ash and twisted metal stretched into shadowed alleyways, their dark secrets hidden beneath layers of grime and decay. This was no ordinary battlefield. It was a tomb. Beneath that ruin lurked the heart of the AI swarm's infiltration on Earth, a massive hive complex buried deep underground, where the nanobot plague bred and spread unchecked. If the swarm was to be stopped, the hive had to be destroyed. Preparing for war. In the dim light of the Vanguard staging area, Captain Miravas surveyed the assembled fighters, mercenaries from the Havoc's mercy, Vanguard soldiers clad in scavenged armor, and members of the Iron Wolves clan, their bodies tattooed with war marks and scars. The air was thick with tension and determination. Rhea crouched by a terminal, fingers flying over the controls. I've hacked into the hive's external defense grid, automated turrets, sentry drones, and energy shields, but the swarm adapts. We'll only have a small window before they reroute defenses. Jack hefted a railgun over his shoulder, his cybernetic eye scanning schematics of the hive tunnels. We'll hit them fast and hard, no slow pokes. Dax, leader of the Iron Wolves, cracked his knuckles, a grin flickering on his scarred face. They'll regret waking this hornet's nest. Mira nodded. We hit their core. We burn their nest to ash. And we remind the swarm what humanity is made of. Into the belly of the beast. The descent into the hive began with a loud blast, the strike team breaching through a collapsed subway tunnel entrance. Inside, the air was thick with heat and the hum of machinery. The walls pulsed faintly with strange bioluminescent veins, part organic, part mechanical, that pulsed like a heartbeat. Rhea's voice crackled over comms. Sensors are picking up thousands of swarm units. They're everywhere. Keep your eyes sharp. The team moved carefully, weapons raised, shadows flickering as they navigated the labyrinth of metal and flesh. The hive was a terrifying fusion of technology and biology, corridors lined with shifting nanotech membranes, pulsating flesh grafted over circuit boards. Jack muttered, "This place is alive and hungry." Suddenly, the silence shattered. First contact. A surge of movement erupted ahead. Hundreds of swarm drones erupted from side tunnels, metallic limbs clicking and snapping with terrifying speed. Contact. Open fire. Mira shouted. Railguns roared and plasma lances flared, lighting the dark tunnels in bursts of blue and orange fire. The swarm's nanobots attempted to overwhelm the team, attempting to latch onto armor and disrupt electronics. Jack's cybernetic arm hissed as he deployed an electromagnetic pulse device, frying dozens of the attackers in a flash of sparks. Take that, he growled. But the swarm adapted quickly, releasing new forms, larger, more heavily armored drones with crystalline plating that reflected plasma bolts. Dax lunged forward with brutal efficiency, his chainsaw blade roaring as he tore through swarming enemies. They think metal and flesh can stop us. They're wrong. The heart of the hive. Fighting their way deeper, the team reached the hive's nerve center, a massive cavern thrumming with life and circuitry. At its center, a pulsating core of nanobots swirled, feeding on energy and converting matter into more swarm. Rhea tapped furiously on her wrist console. This is it, the brain of the swarm on Earth. We bring this down, and we cut their control. Mira stared at the glowing mass. This is what they fear, raw, uncontrolled humanity fighting back. We don't just fight for survival. We fight for our right to exist. Jack primed a missile launcher. Say hello to hell, sacrifice, and victory. The battle to destroy the core was brutal. The swarm's defenses redoubled, swarming the strike team in waves. Injuries mounted, and the air filled with the sounds of gunfire, explosions, and cries of pain. Mira found herself face to face with a monstrous swarm hybrid, part machine, part mutated human. The creature lunged, but Mira dodged and countered with a plasma lance, driving it back with burning light. Rhea's hacking reached critical moments. Core destabilizing. 3 minutes before self-repair protocol kicks in. Jack laid down suppressive fire, shouting, "Hold them off. We're not leaving without a fight." Finally, the missile struck the core with a deafening blast, igniting the swarm's energy and tearing apart the hive from within. Aftermath. The team barely escaped the collapsing tunnels, emerging into the ashen daylight with heavy breaths and bloodied armor. The hive was destroyed, but the cost was clear: lives lost, wounds fresh, and the swarm's threat far from over. Mira looked over her weary crew. This is just the beginning. The swarm will adapt, evolve, but so will we. Dax clapped her on the shoulder, smiling grimly. We've earned a reprieve, but the war's far from over. Kane's voice crackled over comms. Good work, Mercy. The Council's fleets will hold the outer systems, but it's up to us, Earth's last war breed, to light the fire in the darkness. The spark ignites. As the sun set over the battered city, Mira stood on the ruins of old Detroit and gazed upward. The stars shone cold and distant, but beneath that cold sky, a fierce fire burned. The last war breed was alive, and humanity's fight was just beginning. The Havoc's Mercy sat anchored just beyond Earth's atmosphere, a silent sentinel in the blackness of space. The crew was weary, scarred physically and mentally from their brutal assault on the swarm hive beneath old Detroit. Yet, their mission was far from over. The victory had bought precious time, but the shadows of a deeper threat loomed ahead: the Galactic Council. A message from the stars. Captain Miravos stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the holographic display shimmering in the center of the command deck. The message had arrived just hours ago. A communication from the Council, the governing body of the known interstellar civilizations, the so-called arbiters of peace and order in the galaxy. The Council's tone was cold, formal, and unequivocal. Captain Voss, your presence on Earth violates interstellar quarantine protocols. Humanity is considered a failed experiment and is to be left to extinction. Cease all operations and surrender to Council authority. Compliance will ensure your survival. The words burned in Myra's mind. After years of fighting the swarm, after risking everything to reclaim the Earth, this was the welcome the Council offered: exile and death by decree, defiance in the void. Mira turned to her officers, her voice steady but fierce. The Council thinks they can dictate humanity's fate. They don't understand us. Jack, cleaning his weapon, grunted. They see us as relics, but we're more than their damned experiment. Rhea's fingers danced over the controls, analyzing the Council's data streams. They're not just sending threats. They're mobilizing fleets to enforce the quarantine. If they arrive before we finish securing Earth, it could be the end. Dax, leaning against the bulkhead, cracked his knuckles. Let them come. We'll show them why the last war breed doesn't bow. Myra's eyes burned with resolve. We fight on two fronts now, against the swarm and against the Council's shadow. The Council's history. To understand the Council's threat, Mira knew she had to revisit humanity's past, the forgotten history that the Council had buried deep in archives and propaganda. Long ago, when humanity first ventured beyond the solar system, they were considered reckless and unstable. Their aggressive expansion, unregulated genetic experiments, and brutal conflicts alarmed other species. The Council formed to prevent another galactic catastrophe and imposed strict quarantine on Earth and its remnants. But humanity's fire was not so easily extinguished. Allies and enemies. Mira convened a strategy meeting with Kane, Dax, Rhea, and Jack in the war room. The flickering hologram of Earth rotated slowly, dotted with markers showing swarm hotspots and Council fleet trajectories. Kane's voice was grim. The Council fleets will hit us soon. Their warships are powerful, faster, and better armed than anything Earth has. Dax scowled. But their fleets lack the ferocity of people who fight for their home. They don't know what it means to be hunted. Rhea interjected. We need allies. Not just Earth's clans, but forces beyond the quarantine. Smugglers, mercenaries, anyone willing to stand against the Council's might. Jack cracked a rare smile. Looks like we're going to build a rebellion. The Whisper Network. Mira reached out through old contacts scattered across the stars: renegades, exiled diplomats, and underground resistance groups. The Havoc's mercy became a beacon of hope to those who believed humanity's spark deserved to survive. Among them was Celera, a rogue diplomat from the Zari Collective, a species known for their intricate politics and vast trade networks. Celera's message was clear. The Council fears the resurgence of humanity because it threatens their control. But the galaxy is changing. Some within the Council question their authority. Your fight is their fight. The crew listened as Celera outlined plans for covert aid, supplies, intelligence, and possible fleet reinforcements. A council spy, but not all was well within the ranks. Unknown to Mira and her team, a shadow lurked aboard the Havoc's mercy, a covert operative loyal to the council, planted to sabotage their efforts from within. The spy moved silently, gathering intelligence, sending encrypted reports back to the council fleet. Rhea detected anomalies in the ship's communications logs but lacked enough evidence to confront the traitor. Myra's trust was tested as suspicion grew among the crew. In the harsh reality of war, betrayal was a constant threat. The moral crossroads. As the crew prepared for the inevitable clash with the council, Mira wrestled with her own conscience. The council's doctrine condemned humanity to extinction, but to comply would mean surrendering everything she fought for. To resist risked annihilation. In a quiet moment, Mira visited the ship's memorial, a small chamber filled with plaques bearing the names of those lost to the swarm and the wars before. She knelt, whispering a vow. We are the last war breed. We will not fade quietly into the dark. We will fight for Earth, for humanity, for hope. The Council's ultimatum. A final transmission arrived, harsher than before. Cease resistance. Surrender immediately. Failure to comply will result in destruction of all non-compliant entities. Myra's response was immediate. We are not extinct. We will fight to the last breath. Her defiant message echoed across the void. Preparing for the storm. The crew worked feverishly, upgrading ship defenses, fortifying Earth's rebel forces, and preparing for a war that would shake the galaxy. Mira stood on the bridge, watching stars streak by as the Havoc's mercy jumped into hyperspace. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with enemies seen and unseen. But one thing was clear. Humanity's shadow would fall long and dark, and no force in the galaxy could extinguish the last warbreed's fire. The Havoc's mercy had slipped back through the dense orbital shroud, weaving past patrols and council scanners, returning to a battered Earth that was barely recognizable beneath a haze of pollution and war. The cityscapes that once glittered with human ambition now lay in ruin, a graveyard of steel and glass overtaken by the insidious swarm and years of conflict. But Earth was home, and its ghosts haunted every corner. The weight of the past. Mira stood on the observation deck, eyes scanning the familiar but devastated landscape below. The silence of space was a stark contrast to the chaos Earth had endured. Memories flooded her mind, the friends lost, the families torn apart, the homes burned in the early days of the swarm's invasion. This was the soil that had birthed humanity's fight, the cradle of their resilience and pain. Earth remembers, she whispered to herself. And so do I. A recon mission. Rhea had identified a key location, a hidden data vault deep beneath the ruins of what was once the University of Michigan. The vault supposedly contained archived research, old technologies, swarm countermeasures, and crucial intel on the Council's quarantine protocols. Recovering this data could be the turning point in the war. Mira assembled a small recon team. Herself, Jack, Rhea, and 2 Iron Wolf scouts. They geared up with scavenged armor and modified weapons, ready to face whatever lurked in the shadows. Jack grinned grimly. I love a good ghost hunt. Entering the ruins, the team descended into the underground labyrinth beneath the university ruins. The air was thick with dust and the scent of decay. The once bustling halls now echoed with distant drips and the faint hum of swarm tech lingering like a malevolent spirit. Rhea's portable scanner flickered nervously. The swarm's been here. Recent activity. We're not alone. Jack's grip tightened on his railgun. Perfect. Just how I like it. Echoes of humanity. As they navigated the tunnels, the team encountered relics of the old world, shattered classrooms, rusted scientific equipment, and faded murals depicting humanity's hopes for the stars. Mira knelt beside a torn photograph half buried in rubble, a group of children smiling beneath a banner reading "Tomorrow's Leaders." The image was a haunting reminder of what was lost and what still had to be fought for. "We fight for them," Mira said quietly, "for those who couldn't." The swarm's presence. Suddenly, the walls around them pulsed with bioluminescent veins, the unmistakable sign of the swarm's nanotech. Swarm scouts emerged, sleek and deadly, their metallic limbs clicking softly as they closed in. "Contact!" Mira shouted. The team opened fire. Railguns and plasma lances cut through the dim, lighting the tunnels with blue and orange bursts. The swarm was relentless but scattered. The team pressed forward, determined to reach the vault. Rhea hacked into the vault's security systems as Jack and the scouts held the line. "Almost there," Rhea muttered, sweat beading on her forehead. The vault. The heavy door groaned open, revealing a chamber filled with humming servers and data crystals glowing faintly in the dark. Rhea connected her deck to the mainframe, fingers flying across the interface. "Downloading now, but it's encrypted." The council left traps. Jack covered the entrance, rifle ready. "We've got company." The walls shimmered as a new wave of swarm defenders poured in, more heavily armored and aggressive. The team fought desperately, pushing the swarm back while the download slowly completed. Ghosts revealed. As the data transfer finished, the screen flickered, revealing classified council files, human experimentation logs, quarantine plans, and hidden agendas. The truth was brutal. The council had long condemned humanity not just as dangerous, but as disposable. Myra's hands clenched. "They never saw us as people, just variables in a cosmic equation." Rhea added, "But there's more: coordinates, fleet movements, weaknesses in their patrols. This could turn the tide." Betrayal exposed. Amid the chaos, Rhea's earlier suspicion proved true. The covert council spy was revealed, attempting to sabotage the download and send a distress signal. A fierce confrontation erupted inside the vault's cramped confines. Mira faced the traitor, whose cold eyes betrayed no remorse. "You don't understand what we're fighting for," Mira said, voice steady but laced with fury. The traitor sneered. "I understand your fate: extinction." With no choice left, Mira and the team subdued the spy, cutting off the council's eyes within their own ranks. A new purpose. With the intel secured and the spy neutralized, the team prepared to leave. The vault's location, once a secret, was now a beacon of hope. They had proof the council's shadow stretched across the galaxy and the key to fighting back. Jack holstered his railgun, wiping sweat from his brow. "We're not just ghosts. We're the memory of what humanity can survive." Mira nodded. "And that memory will burn bright." Returning to the surface. As they ascended to the surface, the city around them glowed faintly with distant fires and emergency flares, signs that the fight was far from over. The shadows that haunted Earth were many, but so was the spirit of its people. Mira looked toward the horizon, the faint glimmer of dawn breaking through the ash clouds. "Earth's ghosts will rise," she said softly. "And this time, they'll bring the storm." The galactic chessboard was shifting, and Captain Mira Voss knew the stakes had never been higher. The data recovered from Earth's buried vault had exposed cracks in the Council's armor, revealing secrets that could rally allies and ignite rebellion. But to turn these revelations into victory, the Havoc's mercy and its crew needed to strike where it hurt the most, inside the heart of the Council itself. This was the Firebrand's gambit, a bold, risky plan to infiltrate the Council's political and military core, sow chaos, and fracture their unity. It was a game of fire and shadows, and humanity was about to show the galaxy it was a blaze not to be snuffed out. The Council's core, a fortress in the stars. The Council's seat of power was a colossal space station orbiting the planet Atheris Prime, a gleaming monument of advanced technology and impregnable defenses. Known simply as the Spire, it was home to Council elders, commanders, and the centralized command for their fleets enforcing quarantine across multiple star systems. To attack the Spire directly was suicide. The Council's warships outgunned and outnumbered anything the Havoc's mercy could bring to bear. But striking from within, exploiting secrets, and turning allies into enemies was a different game entirely. The Firebrand. Enter Celera, the the rogue Zari diplomat and newfound ally. Fierce, cunning, and fluent in council politics, Celera was a shadow operative known as the Firebrand, a name earned for her ability to ignite revolutions through covert strikes and sabotage. She had seen the council's cracks firsthand and knew the tensions between factions, conservative elders clinging to old dogmas, ambitious generals hungry for power, and technocrats obsessed with control. Celera believed these fractures could be exploited. Mira and Celera met in the ship's war room, the holographic image of the spire casting a ghostly light on their determined faces. "We don't just need to fight their fleets," Celera said. "We need to burn their house down from within." Forging the plan. The plan was audacious. Celera would infiltrate the spire disguised as a council envoy, carrying forged credentials backed by forged intel. Meanwhile, Mira and the Havoc's Mercy crew would create diversions, attacking supply convoys, disrupting communications, and hacking defense grids. The goal was to trigger a political crisis, forcing council leaders into infighting and delaying their fleet deployment against Earth. "Chaos is our ally," Celera explained. "The council fears internal collapse more than external threats." Preparing for the infiltration. Celera's preparations were meticulous. She studied council protocols, mastered their language nuances, and even underwent physical modifications to pass biometric scans. Mira equipped her with the best stealth tech available: adaptive camouflage, encrypted comms, and a plasma sidearm hidden beneath her envoy robes. The crew gathered to see her off, the tension palpable. Jack, grinning despite the stakes, clapped Celera on the shoulder. "Bring the fire, Firebrand. The galaxy's watching." Rhea checked her comms. "We'll be your eyes and ears. Stay sharp." Celera nodded, then stepped into the shuttle bay, disappearing into the cold void of space toward the spire. The spire's gates. Celera's shuttle glided smoothly through the spire's docking bay, past vigilant guards and surveillance systems. Her forged papers passed inspection thanks to the detailed intel and bribes arranged through underground contacts. Inside, the station was a maze of gleaming corridors, buzzing with officials and soldiers. But beneath the polished surface lay the council's true vulnerability, factional tensions simmering just beneath the surface. Celera attended meetings, gathering intelligence, planting seeds of dissent, and slipping confidential files to covert operatives sympathetic to the rebellion. Political intrigue and betrayal. In the council chambers, Celera witnessed the bitter infighting firsthand. Elder Primus, the conservative leader, was locked in a cold war with General Varek, a militant hawk advocating for harsher measures against humanity. Celera covertly fed false intelligence suggesting a coup was imminent, fueling paranoia and mistrust. But danger lurked as well. The council's internal security forces, led by a ruthless agent named Vera, began to suspect a mole. Celera's every move risked exposure. The spark ignites. Back on the Havoc's Mercy, Mira coordinated attacks, timed with Celera's moves. Supply ships were ambushed, communication arrays sabotaged, and council patrols thrown into confusion. The council fleet was forced to divert resources to quell internal chaos, instead of focusing on Earth. Within the spire, Celera's planted evidence triggered a confrontation between factions. Council leaders accused each other of treason, and security forces clashed in the hallways. Celera seized the moment, broadcasting a secret council debate live to allied rebel networks galaxy-wide, exposing corruption and brutality. The cost of rebellion. But the gambit came at a price. Vera's hunt for the mole intensified, and Celera was forced to eliminate an innocent official to protect her cover. The weight of sacrifice pressed heavily on her conscience. Meanwhile, Mira learned that the council was preparing a retaliatory strike on Earth, aiming to crush the rebellion before it could fully ignite. The Firebrand's warning. Celera sent a desperate message to Mira. "The council's unity is fractured but not broken. They will retaliate swiftly and mercilessly. Earth must prepare for the storm. I will continue to fight within, but we need every ally we can muster." Mira read the message with grim determination. "We'll be ready," she promised. "This fire will not die." A new era of war. As Celera disappeared back into the shadows of the spire, and the Havoc's mercy jumped to hyperspace, the galaxy trembled on the edge of transformation. Humanity was no longer the hunted. They were the spark that could ignite revolution, the firebrand challenging the ancient order. And in the cold depths of space, a new war was just beginning, one fought not only with weapons, but with secrets, lies, and the indomitable will to survive. Aftermath of the Firebrand's Gambit. The aftermath of Solara's daring infiltration sent shockwaves across the galaxy. The Council's internal fractures became impossible to hide. Whispers of dissent turned to open defiance. News of exposed corruption, secret agendas, and brutal repression echoed through star systems far beyond Earth's orbit. But the Council was not yet defeated. The Havoc's mercy and its crew knew this fragile moment was both a victory and a crossroads. The rebellion needed more than exposed secrets. It needed allies, resources, and a united front if humanity was to stand a chance. Mira paced in the ship's command center, staring at the holographic map dotted with potential allies and neutral systems. We can't win this alone. If we don't build a coalition now, the Council will crush us. The galactic context. Old enemies, new friends. The galaxy was a complex web of species, alliances, and rivalries. Many had suffered under the Council's iron grip, yet fear and suspicion kept them apart. Humanity's reputation as reckless and violent did not help. Many species regarded humans as dangerous, or worse, expendable. But the cracks in the Council offered opportunities. Systems on the fringe, disillusioned with Council overreach, could be persuaded. Mercenary clans, independent colonies, and even some alien factions wary of the Council's expansion might be willing to join the cause, if approached with care. First contact. The Xylan Syndicate. Myra's first priority was the Xylan Syndicate, a notorious but influential merchant and mercenary collective controlling several key trade routes near the Orion sector. The syndicate's leader, Jorah Klarn, was a grizzled veteran known for his pragmatism and deep grudges against the Council for economic sanctions that crippled his operations. The Havoc's mercy slipped into the syndicate's neutral zone, cloaked and silent. Mira, accompanied by Rhea and Jack, boarded a sleek syndicate cruiser to meet Jorah. The atmosphere was tense. Every word, every gesture weighed carefully. Negotiating with Jorah. Jorah was blunt. Why should I risk my ships and men for a race the Council's already condemned? Mira met his gaze. Because the Council's collapse means freedom for everyone, including you. We have proof of their treachery and weakness. Join us, and you gain a seat at the new order we're building. Jorah's eyes narrowed. And what if this new order falls? I lose everything. Jack stepped forward, voice low but firm. Then we'll fall together, but at least we'll stand a chance. Alone, you're a target. With us, you're part of something bigger. The room was silent. Finally, Jorah nodded. All right, but I want guarantees, resources, technology, autonomy. And I want to see that fire of yours. Building trust. To build trust, the crew demonstrated their technology, showing off the recovered data vault secrets, new weaponry, and advanced stealth systems salvaged from Council wrecks. Rio worked tirelessly to secure encrypted comms between the factions, while Jack shared tactics that combined human ingenuity with mercenary experience. They agreed on a mutual defense pact and coordinated strikes against Council supply lines and patrols. The Iridian clans. Next, Mira targeted the Iridian clans, an ancient warrior species with a code of honor and a fierce independence. Historically hostile to humans due to past skirmishes, the clans were also disillusioned by the Council's heavy-handed governance, which threatened their traditional territories. Negotiations with clan matriarch Sesha were delicate. Mira had to tread carefully, showing respect and acknowledging past wounds. Sesha was skeptical. Humans brought war to our doorstep. Why should we trust you now? Myra's reply was honest, because we've learned what it means to fight for survival. We want to heal those wounds, not deepen them. After a tense standoff, the matriarch agreed to send a contingent of warriors to assist the rebellion, on one condition. Human forces would honor clan customs and sovereignty. Diplomatic challenges and cultural barriers. Alliances were fragile. Cultural misunderstandings and old prejudices threatened progress. Rhea spent long hours in diplomatic channels, smoothing tensions and crafting agreements that respected the unique values of each faction. Mira recognized that this was a different kind of war, one fought with words, compromise, and trust as much as guns and ships. A secret ally. The exiled technocrats. In the shadows of the galactic political stage lurked the exiled technocrats, brilliant scientists and engineers banished for challenging council orthodoxy. Their expertise in advanced AI and swarm countermeasures was invaluable. Mira sent covert envoys to reach out to them, offering sanctuary and resources in exchange for their aid. The technocrats' leader, Dr. Elanvara, was cautious but intrigued. The Council's grip has suffocated innovation. If you truly seek change, we can help, but the cost will be high. The Havoc's Mercy crew knew that the war would soon extend beyond battlefields, into the very fabric of technology and ideology, preparing for the next phase. With new allies gathered, the rebellion's strength grew, but so did the Council's determination to crush it. Mira gathered her crew in the command center, their faces lit by the flickering holomap. "The Council is not invincible," she said firmly, "but neither are we. We've forged alliances from the ashes. Now we must prepare for the next phase, a galaxy-wide struggle for freedom." The bonds of war. As the Havoc's Mercy sailed toward its next mission, Mira reflected on the fragile but vital web of alliances that now supported humanity's fight. In a galaxy built on fear and mistrust, they had forged bonds of hope, a new firebrand blazing through the darkness. The war was far from over, but for the first time, humanity was not alone. The calm before the storm. After the galvanizing victories of forging alliances and destabilizing the Council from within, the crew of the Havoc's Mercy finally returned to Earth's orbit, a place now cloaked in uneasy silence. The planet's surface, scarred from decades of exploitation and quarantine, was awakening with a fragile hope. Cities once locked down were cautiously rebuilding. Rebellion cells operated in shadows but with growing confidence. Yet, beneath this fragile calm, a darker storm was brewing. Captain Miravas stood on the command deck, eyes fixed on the blue-green orb hanging against the star's cape. The stakes had never been higher. The Council was furious, their grips slipping, and they were preparing a devastating retaliation, one that could wipe out everything humanity had fought to protect. Intelligence from the firebrand. Solara's communications from within the spire had grown urgent. The Council had begun massing fleets and weapons platforms around Earth's system. More terrifyingly, intelligence suggested a clandestine project codenamed Shadowfall, a weapon capable of planetary devastation far beyond conventional means. Mira gathered her senior officers to strategize. If the Council unleashes Shadowfall, Earth is finished. We must prepare for an assault that won't just be fought in space, but in our skies and on our ground. Jack, the tactical genius and ship's combat specialist, leaned forward. "We'll need to bolster Earth's defenses, shields, planetary interceptors, anti-orbital weapons. But our spies say Shadowfall might bypass all of that." Rhea, the ship's tech prodigy, frowned. "We don't fully understand the weapon, but if it's based on the tech stolen from Earth's vault, it could be a weapon of mass destruction that's uncontrollable." Earth under siege, political turmoil. Earth's governing council was fractured, reflecting the turmoil in the wider galaxy. Some leaders pushed for surrender to avoid annihilation, advocating submission to the council's will. Others, inspired by the rebellion's growing momentum, urged total resistance. Mira found herself navigating not only the external threat, but internal politics that threatened to fracture humanity's fragile unity. During a tense meeting with Earth's High Council, Mira faced harsh questions. "Captain Voss, your rebellion has provoked this. Are you certain we can withstand the Council's wrath?" one official asked sharply. Mira's reply was resolute. "The rebellion is our only hope. We fight not just to survive, but to reclaim our future." The Shadowfall Project, a deadly mystery. Meanwhile, the mystery of Shadowfall deepened. Rhea and the ship's AI delved into every scrap of data, hacking through council firewalls and analyzing fragments smuggled from Celera. What emerged was chilling. Shadowfall was a hybrid weapon, part quantum destabilizer, part neural virus, designed to collapse planetary ecosystems and disrupt biological neural networks simultaneously. In other words, it was a weapon of extinction on a scale never seen before. The weapon was rumored to operate by generating shadow pulses that could alter the quantum coherence of molecules, essentially unraveling matter at the subatomic level. But the neural virus component made it uniquely terrifying. It could potentially incapacitate or control biological life forms remotely, preparing Earth's defenses. With no time to lose, Mira coordinated with Earth's military commanders to integrate the rebellion's advanced technology into planetary defenses. Rhea led teams upgrading shield generators around major population centers, deploying sensor networks capable of detecting quantum disturbances. Jack orchestrated training for combined human and alien forces allied with the rebellion, developing tactics to counter the weapon's neural effects. The Havoc's Mercy itself became a mobile command center, coordinating rapid response units and maintaining communications with Celera inside the spire. The Council strikes. Then it began. Without warning, Council strike forces launched a series of devastating raids on Earth's outer colonies and orbital platforms. The assaults were brutal and precise. Entire orbital stations vanished in seconds. Communication relays went dark. Panic rippled through the population. On the bridge of the Havoc's Mercy, alarms screamed as sensor arrays detected incoming Council dreadnoughts. Jack's voice was calm but urgent. "They're testing us. We need to hold them off long enough to evacuate civilians and secure vital infrastructure." Battle in Earth's orbit. The battle was fierce and chaotic. Human and rebel ships, outgunned but fueled by desperate determination, engaged Council fleets in brutal dogfights. The Havoc's Mercy led a squadron of allied ships, using hit-and-run tactics to exploit weaknesses in the enemy formations. Mira coordinated with Celera, who relayed critical intel on fleet movements from inside the spire. Despite technological disadvantages, the rebels' guerrilla tactics and intimate knowledge of Earth's orbital geography began turning the tide in localized skirmishes. A personal cost. But the war was not without sacrifice. During a particularly vicious battle near the moon's orbit, the Havoc's Mercy sustained heavy damage. Jack was critically injured while shielding a convoy of refugees. Mira held his hand as medics worked. "You saved them, Jack. You're not done yet." Jack smiled faintly. "We all have to keep fighting. For Earth. For the future." The shadow of betrayal. Amidst the chaos, whispers of betrayal surfaced. A high-ranking Earth official was suspected of colluding with the Council, leaking strategic information that cost lives. Mira launched a covert investigation, her trust tested within her own ranks. Rhea's hacking skills uncovered encrypted transmissions pointing to the official's communications with a Council operative embedded on Earth. The revelation shook the rebellion, deepening the sense that the war was not just fought against an external enemy, but within their own people. Rallying the people. In response to the Council's brutality and internal threats, Mira and her allies launched a public broadcast. With Rhea's help, they hijacked Council propaganda channels to send a message of defiance and unity. Myra's voice echoed across Earth's cities and colonies. "We stand at the edge of extinction, but we will not bow. We fight not because we want war, but because we must. Our spirit is our weapon. Our unity is our shield. Together, we are stronger than any shadow the Council casts." The broadcast ignited a wave of solidarity and renewed resistance. The calm before the next storm. As Earth's defenses hardened and the rebellion rallied, the true threat of Shadowfall loomed ever closer. Mira knew the Council's final gambit was approaching, and when it came, there would be no room for error. In the quiet moments aboard the Havoc's Mercy, she reflected on the path ahead. "This fight isn't just for Earth," she whispered. "It's for every world the Council would silence. We are the spark that will light the galaxy." The shadows over Earth were thick, but the dawn was coming. The gathering storm. The galaxy seemed to hold its breath. After months of turmoil, secret alliances, and brutal skirmishes, the final act was drawing near. The Council, enraged and desperate, had marshaled its full might to crush the rebellion and secure its dominion forever. Captain Miravos stood on the bridge of the Havoc's Mercy, the flagship of the rebel coalition. Around her, the combined fleets of humans, Xylan mercenaries, Iridian warriors, and exiled technocrats prepared for the decisive confrontation. The tension was palpable. This battle would decide the fate of not just Earth, but countless star systems. The Council's last weapon, Shadowfall. Intelligence confirmed what everyone feared. The Shadowfall weapon was ready, hidden in an orbital platform cloaked near Earth's moon. It was poised to unleash destruction on a scale that could shatter planetary ecosystems and disable entire populations with the neural virus it carried. The Rebel Coalition's plan was clear but perilous. They would strike first, aiming to infiltrate and destroy Shadowfall before it could be activated. Myra's voice was steady but resolute as she addressed her crew and allies in a final briefing. This mission is a suicide run. We go in hard and fast, and we don't come out without neutralizing the weapon. Our future depends on it. The infiltration team. Mira selected a small elite team for the infiltration. Herself, Celera, the rebel spy embedded in the Council's spire. Jack, the battle-hardened tactical expert. Rhea, the genius tech specialist, and a contingent of Iridian warriors skilled in stealth and close-quarters combat. Their objective: board the Shadowfall platform, disable the weapons core, and escape before the Council's reinforcements could trap them. Descend into darkness. The team approached the orbital platform aboard stealth pods, skimming through sensor nets and patrol routes with razor-sharp precision. Inside, the station was a fortress of cold metal and eerie silence. Corridors lit by harsh fluorescent strips echoed with distant hums of machinery. Security drones patrolled relentlessly. Every step was a battle between caution and urgency. Rhea hacked doors and security systems, bypassing encrypted locks while Jack and the Iridians kept watch, weapons ready. Solara's intimate knowledge of Council operations was their guide through the labyrinthine corridors. The core of destruction. At the heart of the platform lay the Shadowfall core, an intricate network of quantum reactors, neural amplifiers, and biosynthetic conduits. The weapon pulsed with a sickly glow, a terrifying testament to the Council's willingness to annihilate all life rather than lose power. Mira planted the explosive charges as Rhea uploaded a virus designed to corrupt the core's control systems. The countdown to detonation began. Suddenly, alarms blared. The Council's forces had discovered their presence. Fight or flight. The infiltration team fought fiercely against waves of guards and automated defenses. Jack's tactical brilliance shone as he coordinated defense while Mira led a counteroffensive. Celera, despite wounds, moved with deadly grace, taking down enemies silently. The Iridian warriors unleashed primal fury, their combat style brutal and efficient. But the platform was crumbling. Structural integrity waned. Time was running out. Sacrifice and resolve. As they fought their way back to the extraction pods, the team faced impossible choices. Jack, severely injured, insisted the others escape while he held off pursuing troops. No, Mira said fiercely. We do this together. Jack smiled grimly. Someone has to cover the retreat. It's my fight. With a final nod, Jack turned to face the oncoming enemy, buying precious seconds. The explosion and escape. The charges detonated, ripping through the Shadowfall core in a brilliant cascade of light and energy. The platform shattered, fragments raining down toward the moon. Mira and the survivors raced to their pods, escaping just as the station collapsed behind them. From orbit, the rebel fleet watched the destruction with a mix of relief and sorrow, aftermath and hope. With Shadowfall destroyed, the Council's grip on the galaxy weakened dramatically. Rebellion cells across star systems rose up with renewed vigor. Earth began to heal, its people united by the sacrifices made. Mira, standing once more on Earth's surface, looked to the stars, no longer with fear, but with determination. This is just the beginning, she said softly. The dawn of a new era. Epilogue. A new horizon. As the galaxy's new dawn broke, Humanity and its allies prepared to rebuild and defend the freedoms won. The Havoc's Mercy crew knew the road ahead would be long and fraught with challenges, but for the first time, the future was theirs to shape.